Forgive us our debts as we forgive all who lead us not into temptation. Deliver us from all that's evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the
I've seen and heard people make verbal expression about love. You know, for a child, it is a very simple thing to look at his parent and say, I love you. That is a verbal expression. How about, spouse? Spouses would do that. Husband or a wife would say to her own spouse or his own spouse, I love you. That's a verbal expression. And how about boyfriends and girlfriends? I mean, this is something that happens, right? One would look at the other and say, I love you. That's a verbal expression. An expression of love in words or speeches. But there is something that is actually missing when it comes to extending love to others. Is it only by expression? Or there's something that is needed to be added to it? I mean, I'm not ruling out the fact that expression is good. But is that all about love? No, there's someone that has given us a great example of what love means and how love is just beyond ordinary expression. He actually demonstrates what and how to actually love. And, it's a pronouncement of love or a verbal expression of love, and there is love in action. And so coming from the Bible, in the words of John, John is encouraging us to love others genuinely. And so looking at John, 1 John chapter 3, verse 18, John says, little children, let us not love in word or speech, but in action and in truth. Now, why is John talking that way? I believe John has seen the example of Jesus Christ, who actually, love in action and in truth. Now, how do I know that? John, the same John talked about it in the Gospel of John, in John chapter 13, verse 34 and verse 35. John says to us that Jesus spoke and said, I give you a new command, love one another, just as I have loved you. I being an example for you, an example of what it means and how to love. So he said, you are also to love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. So this is just beyond, verbal expression. This is something that has to be acted in a way, and not just to be acted, but to be acted in truth. I mean, because it's a lot of falsehood, it's a lot of deception. Now, I've had, especially within the context of boys and girls, outside marriage, would say, well, show me that you love me. Just do something to indicate that you love me, right? And that can be mistaken to be something different than what is truth. So this is the great example of what it means to love in action, and to love in truth. In John chapter 15, from verses 12, John also makes us understand another great importance of the words of Jesus, because Jesus actually said, "This is my command." Again, in that he said, "Love one another as I have loved you." And he said, "No one has greater love than these." Now look at the action. "Than these, to lay down his life for his friends." And you are my friends if you do what I command you: to act, to sacrifice, to empathize, to step into, to do on behalf of. This is the example that Christ laid for us. Would you do that as a Christian? We are commanded to love in action and in truth, not just a verbal expression of love. So as you walk in your offices, as you walk in your areas of businesses, as you walk in your neighborhood, and as you find yourself where you are, would you love in action and in truth? As we hear about people struggling, as we hear about the flood in the eastern part of Kentucky, would we just send expression of love, or do we love in action and in truth? So this is a challenge for us, to love as Christ wants us, in action and in truth. Thank you. Until I come your way again.